Well, hey guys, welcome back to my Flickers of Fear series, doing a new movie today, one that came out just this year, matter of fact. So, Australian brothers, writers, directors, Danny and Michael Philippou? Not really sure how to pronounce their last name. Sorry, you guys. You know what I mean? I probably should, watch somebody pronouncing it so I wouldn't fuck it up, but you know what I mean. I didn't have time to do that. I mean, I did, but I just forgot. So, the two of them, probably if you're into horror, their names will sound familiar. They kind of burst onto the scene back in 2022 with their excessively hyped and admittedly pretty good supernatural horror film Talk to Me, which it got hugely positive reviews. It just had the whole horror community abuzz. And, everyone was kind of saying, oh, it's, these new, notable new talent, in the horror genre, and everyone was really excited about it. I actually saw Talk to Me in the theater, and I actually really liked it quite a bit, but I don't think it quite lived up to my expectations, which I think was probably more, not really the movie's fault. I think it was just so, overhyped that it wasn't quite, it was great, but it wasn't, quite as great as I was expecting it to be, you know what I mean? However, when I saw the trailer for their second film, Bring Her Back, from this year, 2025, I believe it came out last May, I was pretty much on board because the trailer for it looked fucking great. So like I had done with Talk to Me, I actually wanted to see this in the theater, but I just didn't get around to it. I mean, cut me some slack. Going to the movies is expensive as fuck. It has been for quite a while. And the closest movie theater to me is almost 20 miles away. So it's kind of like a whole day excursion, you know what I mean? But thankfully, the movie recently dropped on HBO Max, which I actually do have a subscription to. And it's one of the streaming services I watch the most, actually, which is kind of strange. So I saw that they had added it, and I settled in one rainy afternoon to give it a look. And hot damn, this was fantastic. I really liked this a lot. The very grim, very fucked up, in the best possible way. Had a real intense emotional core to it, and some real squirm-inducing violence. It's not like a gore fest or anything like that, but some of the stuff that happens in it is just kind of yee, you know what I mean? And I'm pretty, cynical and hardened to everything, and even some of the stuff in here, I was just kind of oh, man, that was rough to watch. Now, I'm gonna say I liked this so much, I would actually be shocked if this didn't end up in my top 5 or maybe even top 3 horror movies of the year. I loved it that much. I still have a few months to go, and there's still a lot of new movies this year that I haven't seen yet. I already kind of have my top 5, sort of nebulous, and this is definitely going to be in there, I think. So at the beginning of the movie, we have some grainy VHS type footage that looks sort of like a black magic ritual or something, involving possible torture. Somebody's talking in Russian, and it's not translated, and it's not really entirely sure, you're not really entirely sure what's going on in this situation on this video. So this whole little video at the very beginning is just kind of a foretaste of this bizarre mystery that you're about to be thrust into. So we then get introduced to our two main protagonists, who is a 17-year-old boy named Andy, and his younger, partially blind stepsister, whose name is Piper. Now, the pair of them are obviously very close. Andy is very, very protective of her, even to the point where he kind of keeps, certain unpleasant information and things from her, so she won't realize how shitty the world can be, although of course she does realize it, but he's just trying to protect her, you know what I mean? And Piper, for her part, is very grateful for her big brother kind of doting on her and taking care of her, but she's also a really independent person in her own right. She looks like she's about 14, 15, something I'm not good at telling people's ages, she might be older than that, but she's definitely younger than him, and he's supposed to be 17. So she actually, even though she is only partially sighted, she says she can see light and kind of blobs of shapes, but that's about it. She can't really see very clearly. So she has a cane, as a lot of blind people have, but she refuses to use it because she says that she doesn't want people babying her because of her disability. Now, unfortunately for the two of them, terrible reality soon intervenes. They are being raised by a single father. I don't think they ever say what happens to the mom, or if they did, I don't really remember, but their mom is dead or left or whatever. So they're being raised by a single father, and he had been undergoing chemo and was in remission from cancer, but he suddenly just like drops dead in the shower. And Andy actually finds him dead on the bathroom floor, just like naked and dead and laying there. Now, Andy is understandably traumatized by this situation because it's pretty horrible, and he doesn't know what to do. Like, he just simply stands there frozen, like, while Piper is kind of feeling around, trying to desperately to, like, revive their father, but of course it doesn't work. He's already dead. So because Andy and Piper are obviously still minors, they are placed in the foster care system. Now, Andy is only 3 months shy of his 18th birthday, so obviously he'll be an adult soon. So their caseworker, whose name is Wendy, is going to put Piper in a foster home and then keep Andy like in a facility of some kind until he gets to the age of majority and can then legally apply for guardianship of his sister. But Andy is not too happy about this plan. He's like, look, I have to go with Piper to the foster home. We don't want to be separated. And he also wants to be able to look after her, as he's been doing, you're led to presume, for several years. So the social worker seems pretty, open to this suggestion. He's like, you'll only be there for 3 months probably, and then hopefully you'll be able to go through the legal process and you'll be able to have a home of your own, just you and your sister, because you'll legally be an adult, right? So Andy and Piper are sent to live with someone that the foster care or the facility that they went to is like very familiar with. She used to work there. She's kind of this dotty foster mom and a former counselor. His name is Laura. Now, she's actually played by the outstanding Sally Hawkins. I kind of feel like she's cast a little bit against type here, in a brilliant kind of way. She's been in loads and loads of things. She's a British actress. I mostly knew her from, obviously The Shape of Water, the Guillermo del Toro movie that won Best Picture. And she was also in a whole bunch of Mike Leigh's films. She had a small part in All or Nothing. That might have been her first big role. She was in Vera Drake, which is also great. Oh, and she was the lead in Happy Go Lucky. So she's, like I said, she's been in loads of things. So after the two of them kind of move in with Laura, nothing seems that weird initially. Though Laura is eccentric, for sure. One of the first things she does is she introduces Piper, who, remember, can't really see, to her dog, and making Piper pet the dog without telling him that he's actually, taxidermied, like the dog is dead, right? Also, she's very obviously kind of showering Piper with attention and kindness, and then she kind of low-key, not malevolently, but just sort of blows Andy off. Calling him by the wrong name, like she forgot what his name was. She puts him, in this kind of crappy old storage room for a bedroom, while Piper gets the nicely furnished girls' room. And she goes to, take a family selfie and very deliberately, places herself in front of him, so he's, half obscured. So she's doing stuff like that, and like I said, it's very deliberate. So Andy obviously notices this right away, but he figures, hey, it's only for 3 months, right? I mean, there's bound to be an adjustment period. But things start to get a little bit more ominous not long after. Turns out that Laura had a blind daughter named Kathy who drowned in the pool at some point in the past. And more unsettling than that, she also has another foster kid named Ollie, who is mute, has a shaved head, and is locked in his room most of the time. And we're not entirely sure at first if it's for his own safety or that of others, you know what I mean? There's also kind of more subtle but equally unsettling things, like Laura's property is ringed with this massive, white painted circle for some reason. So as time goes on, it starts to become clear that Laura has some kind of agenda, though for a while we're not entirely sure what that is. It's pretty obvious, though, that she's gunning to keep Piper as her own, and also at the same time doing various things to kind of undermine and gaslight Andy so that he will not be deemed fit to take custody of his sister when he turns 18, which is what he wants to do. And we, as the audience, are also kind of privy to some of Laura's behavior that the kids don't see, such as one weird thing that she does where they go to their dad's funeral and she cuts a lock of hair from the dude's head and kisses him on the lips, even though she never met the guy. And she also makes Andy kiss his dead dad on the mouth too, claiming it's custom, which, no. After this funeral, though, Laura actually kind of seems to bond with both kids. She, perhaps irresponsibly, well, not perhaps, definitely irresponsibly, lets them get shit-faced drunk in celebration of their dad. You know, it's like, oh, you know, it's your dad. It's only one time, blah, blah, blah. Like I said, they're like 17 and 14 or whatever the fuck. And after that, she kind of seems to open up to Andy about her grief over losing her daughter, Kathy, like who drowned. And Andy also confesses to his own very troubled relationship with his father, you know, who has also died, and how he had some behavioral problems when he was younger because of it. Now, although on the surface, this actually seems like a nice moment, I mean, you know, Laura seems to be trying to relate to Andy on his level, you know what I mean? They have something in common. We already know, because of her previous weird-ass behavior, that this is just kind of more fodder that she's going to use in service of her nefarious plans. Now, I won't spoil what those plans are, since this is still such a new movie, but suffice it to say that it involves Piper and Ollie, the other foster kid, and ties back in with the creepy videotape we saw at the beginning of the movie. So Bring Her Back, I feel like, was everything that a horror movie should be. It was like really riveting. It completely kept your, you know, attention like the entire time. It was quite disturbing. It wasn't afraid to go to some pretty fucking dark places. And it had some scenes of violence that would make even most of your kind of seasoned horror fans wince a bit. I mean, especially if you're squeamish about mouth and teeth trauma, because boy howdy, there's a lot of that in here. There's like one scene involving a kitchen knife that legit made me just go, ah! You know what I mean? If you know, you know. And then there was like another one with like a table edge that was also kind of like making me kind of weird out. You know what I mean? So it's like I said, it's not a gore fest or anything like that, but it has shit like that. It's just like difficult to watch. You know what I mean? I also feel like the mystery of what Laura is up to is really doled out at like the perfect pace. And you become so invested in Andy and Piper's just really nice, organic, sweet sibling relationship that you can't help but feel like terrified on their behalf as events start to get more and more messed up and you begin to realize the danger that they're in. And the acting is also just impeccable across the board. Sally Hawkins, who plays Laura, is amazing, of course. And Billy Barrett, who plays Andy, I mean, he just crushes it. He's great in this. Everybody is amazing, as I mentioned. And, you know, the girl that plays Piper is great, too. And I believe this is her first film role. And finally, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that there is an adorable kitty cat in this movie named Junkman. And he doesn't get killed. Well, that we know of. He basically just runs away, spoiler alert, so you don't actually know what happened to him. Something bad could have happened to him, but they don't mention it or anything like that. So I was like, hooray, because you know how I feel about bad things happening to kitties and doggies, like in horror movies. Kill all the people you want, leave the animals alone. So if you liked Talk to Me, I can't imagine that you wouldn't like Bring Her Back as well. It's definitely its own animal, but it does have some thematic similarities with their first movie. For my money, Bring Her Back was loads better than Talk to Me, and I thought Talk to Me was like really good actually, but I think this was like way, way, way better, like a huge step up. And like I said, this has easily earned a spot on my favorite horror films of 2025 list. I won't know where it falls until I've seen all of the stuff at the end of the year, but I can tell you right now this is probably going to be way up there. And that will do it for this Flickers of Fear. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please remember, like, share, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you guys again on the next one. Bye.